Hi, I'm Starborn. Remember, to be a star, you have to shine your own light, follow your own path, and not worry about the darkness, because that's when stars shine brightest. If you've been looking at our website, starborninstitute.org, you would already know that the title of tonight's show is a very serious one. It's called A Sober Judgment. And that is because when we're referring to a sober judgment, it almost implies that it's the morning after, when you've been out with at a wild party and had a great time, or maybe you're just waking up after a great dream, and now it would be the time to face facts in the cold, harsh light of dawn, because I think that's where we are right now. And that is because last Monday we had a new moon, and it was absolutely loaded. It was at 27 degrees of Sagittarius, and it was conjuncting a very sober planet, Saturn, at 29 degrees of Sagittarius, and that is the degree of fate because it's the last degree in the sign. And 27 degrees, where the sun and the new moon were, is a number that reduces to 9. 2 plus 7 equals 9. 9 is the highest of all the single digits, and it indicates finishing. So something has got to be finished right now, and it may involve a sober judgment, because those weren't the only planets in Sagittarius. In fact, there were 5 planets in Sagittarius, trining a 6th one, Uranus in Aries. And so there is Mercury, that at the time was still retrograde in Sagittarius, and then Venus was in Sagittarius, then the Sun and the Moon and Saturn, those 5 planets. And they were all being trined by Uranus in Aries, which is also retrograde, and Aries rules new beginnings. So something may have to be redone or revised or reviewed in some way, and it could be something that involves a new beginning of one sort or another. And so this is a time, since the 6 planets in fire signs also trine the other fire sign, Leo, this is a time when and Leo rules children, it rules sports, the entertainment world, and it rules leadership, and it also rules love affairs. So this can be a time when perhaps a charismatic leader or a judge can be stepping forward to make some sort of very serious decision based on not dreams and not hopes and wishes, but based instead on the highest law of the land. Because Sagittarius does rule the courts, and it rules the whole judicial system. It also rules the higher mind, because it rules higher education, such as 4-year colleges and universities and graduate schools. And it also rules large international organizations, because Sagittarius rules foreign countries, long-distance travel, and people from foreign countries. It also rules religions, and it rules philosophy, and it rules legal scholars. So this is a time when some sort of very sober, serious decision and a wise decision can be made by a leader or by people who have very high moral and spiritual values. They have a lot of integrity, and they are able to make some sort of legal decision or judgment based on the highest law in the land. And we will have to accept that and respect their judgment. And so we realize that if a sober judgment is made, it's something that we must obey, because it's for the good of all of us. At the same time, there is a planet that is in harsh aspect to the new moon in Sagittarius, and it was that their Neptune, which is the ruler of Pisces, was squaring Mercury, Venus, the Sun, new moon, and Saturn in Sagittarius. But because there are so many planets in Sagittarius, it could have been overwhelming, that Neptune in Pisces. And so that simply means, since Pisces rules dreams, and there are 2 planets in the fire signs that are retrograde, there is an indication that some dream now is sort of fading into the twilight, as if it was a little star that has lost its way. And that could be the outcome of a sober judgment that is made soon. However, at the same time, that Neptune in Pisces is being trined by both Mars and Jupiter in Scorpio. And so they are lending support to that Neptune in Pisces. And what that means is that since Scorpio does rule justice and survival, some sort of sober judgment now is pretty much going to guarantee that justice and survival is done. But at the same time, an old wound could heal, because there may be some financial assistance around to help those who accept and obey the law right now. And if they do agree to do that, then there can be some financial assistance that can help them recover from an old wound. And yet at the same time, we've all got to understand that because there were so many planets, 5 in the sign of Sagittarius under the new moon on Monday, that there are going to be a lot of people affected. Who would they be? Well, they would be the people that will be most affected by a sober judgment are the ones that are involved in the things that Sagittarius rules. People from foreign countries, people who travel long distances, people who are involved in international organizations, or who have some pending legal judgment, and that is because Sagittarius once again rules the courts and the whole judicial system. Or it could be people involved in higher education, or religious leaders, or philosophers, or even legal scholars. These will be the people that are affected in one way or another by a sober judgment right now. So what does this all boil down to? I think what it means is that there are some people who may have to go home now. Or it might be that we all have to go back to the basics and simply give them another try right now. And that is because soon we will be entering a new era and a new year. And it's going to be very different than this year was. And so we've sort of got to get ready for that. All right, what does this idea of a sober judgment mean to all 12 of the sun signs? Well, Aries, for you, I think that you are a person that has just got a tremendous amount of backup right now, because that new moon on Monday with 5 planets in Sagittarius trines your sun, Aries. You can certainly be very popular. You might be thinking of going on a long distance trip or being involved in higher education. Or if there is some sort of sober judgment right now that is made, it could be made in regard to some sort of delayed new start that perhaps you're involved with. Or if you simply don't like what is the outcome of a sober judgment, you could certainly get an awfully lot of help in moving back somewhere, perhaps back to where you came from, because that would simplify your life a little bit, or simply moving on in one way or another. I mean, with all these planets, good planets in Sagittarius, you can get a lot of support for whatever you want to do right now, Aries, as long as it adheres to the law and as long as it follows some sort of sober judgment that can be made soon. So this is a good time for you to consider your options, Aries, because you might benefit by simplifying your life. Remember, it would help all of us to go back to the basics now. Okay, what does it mean to a Taurus? Well, Taurus, there are 2 planets that are opposing your sun sign right now, and that is because Mars and Jupiter in Scorpio are opposing your sun sign, and they are in a fixed sign, which is what yours is, but they are not being squared or opposed by any other planet, which makes them even stronger. And that simply means that this is a time when, if you have any kind of financial negotiation going on, or if you're thinking of buying and selling things, you know, there's going to be either hidden costs or higher costs that you will have to sort of pay out for, Taurus. And that's just the way it goes. And if there's any problem with taxes or loans or credit, then this is a time when they can be pretty serious, and you would have to attend to those and really face them. And it also might just be the fact that the prices are going up on things, and it is Christmas, and maybe if you've been a little bit too extravagant, you're going to have to think seriously of how to pay the bills instead. Okay, what does it mean to a Gemini? Well, Gemini, this is not your time. And what I mean by that is that there are no planets in any of the air signs, so it's certainly not the time to debate or talk about anything. In fact, that time is past. And in fact, the 5 planets in Sagittarius, remember Mercury, which is retrograded, it's your own ruler, and the Sun and the Moon and Venus and Saturn at the fateful 29th degree of Sagittarius are all opposing your sun sign, Gemini, and Neptune in Pisces is squaring your sun sign. There really are 6 planets in the mutable signs that can indicate that, first of all, you don't know who to trust right now or to believe, so this is not a good time for you to take action, Gemini, or to say too much, because you might be saying something that is based on false information, and that would tend to make you look like a fool. And so you really want to keep as quiet as you can right now, because we have to trust that leaders or judges with high moral and spiritual integrity will make the right decision, and that decision will be based not on dreams or hopes and wishes, but it'll be strictly based on the highest law of the land and on well-established legal precedent. And so this just isn't a time for you to be involved in that, Gemini. Instead, you really need to sort of sit back now and take life a little bit more quietly, even though you can be very busy with the Christmas holidays. This is not in time to get involved in any kind of communication with other people, particularly not on a serious level. Instead, I hope you just plan on enjoying the holidays if you can. Okay, what does it mean to a Cancer? Well, Cancer, it is wonderful that Mars and Jupiter in Scorpio are trining your sun, and so is Neptune in Pisces. That means you've got a lot of support behind you, and it also means there can be more money coming your way, which is great, Cancer. But at the same time, you have to be aware that there are things going on at a higher level that may not involve you, but that could affect you eventually. And that is because Sagittarius rules foreign countries, but it also rules people from foreign countries, and they may be coming to see you, or you may be taking a long-distance trip as well, Cancer. Or there is the possibility that whatever sober judgment is passed down soon will have some effect on people that you know. And so you can be perhaps not directly affected, but indirectly you can be affected, Cancer. And so I would say, while we're all sort of waiting for some really serious decision to be made by qualified people who can do a good job of that, we can be concentrating on home and family, which is what your sign rules. Your sign also rules endings. And so there is a possibility that you might be thinking about some sort of ending, Cancer. And I'm happy to say it looks like if you were thinking of ending something, you would certainly have enough money to do that. And so that would be all right, because then perhaps that could set you on a new path. Okay, what does it mean to a Leo? Well, Leo, this is a time when, you're just going to have all kinds of opportunities right now, Leo. Hopefully they won't be expensive opportunities, because Mars and Jupiter in Scorpio are squaring your sun right now, which means you really have to watch the pennies or try to stay within your budget this holiday season if you can, because you could really regret the morning after. In other words, if you spend a lot during the holidays, what happens when it comes time to pay the bills? You could really be affected by that. So try to really stay within your budget and realize that people will love you anyway, even if you're not being extravagant this Christmas, Leo. Because this is a time when you could benefit from a sober judgment that other people make. And that is because there can be something that is decided that is for the good of all of us. And that's why we should really respect it. And that is because under the new moon on Monday in Sagittarius, 5 planets in Sagittarius were trining your sun, and Uranus in Aries is also trining your sun. So even though some sort of new beginning, it's going to have to be redone, Leo. You are going to have an awful lot of help with that and a lot of support. And remember that Saturn is at the fateful 29th degree of Sagittarius. It was conjuncted by the sun and new moon, but we're at 27 degrees of Sagittarius, and that means something has to be finished. And so if you're thinking of sort of zooming forward right now, I would advise you against that, Leo, and that is because I don't think you have the money to do exactly what you want to do. You might have to save a little more money first or sell something. And then secondly, this is simply a time when it would be better to simplify your life and try to go back to the basics a little bit rather than overreach or overspend. That is something that even you shouldn't do that, and neither should anybody else, because there has to be a sound judgment first for us to all know where we stand. And once you know where you stand, then you can decide what to do, Leo. Okay, what does it mean to a Virgo? Well, Virgo, this is a time when you're reaching a turning point, Virgo, and it's good because you're going to be able to turn in a better direction. That is coming right up. But for now, that new moon last Monday with 5 planets in Sagittarius and Saturn at the 29th degree of fate all squared your sun, and Neptune in Pisces is opposing your sun sign. That is 6 of the 10 planets that are in very harsh aspect to your sun sign, Virgo. And that means there can be a sober judgment made soon, and you will more or less have to accept the terms of it. But that's all right, because as I said, the tide's about to turn, and you will be coming into a much better time as early as next week. And so this is simply a time when you'll have to accept a sober judgment. It may actually be about somebody else and not about you, Virgo. And that sober judgment may mean that someone else has to sort of redo something or clarify duties or responsibilities that in the end can help you very much. Or it might be that either they are removed from a position or you are, but you are aspected to go on to better things. And so I wouldn't worry about it too much right now, Virgo, but you still might want to be pretty quiet and just let a sober judgment sink in. But still, you're coming into a very good year. Okay, what does it mean to a Libra? Well, Libra, this is a time when I think you're going to be able to anticipate some sort of sober judgment that will bring a change for you, and it could be an advantageous one, Libra. And that is because Jupiter has been in your sign for a year. It isn't there anymore. It's ahead of your sun sign. Mars and Jupiter are in Scorpio, and they're very well aspected. But the new moon was in Sagittarius. It sextiled your sun. And so there were actually 7 planets right ahead of your sun sign on Monday under that new moon. And Jupiter rules Sagittarius. It's not in Sagittarius right now, but it rules it. And it's right behind it, in fact, and it's ahead of your sun sign. So whatever sober judgment is going to be handed down in a wise decision by people who want to do the best for all of us, so we should respect their judgment, that is probably going to do you a lot of good, Libra. And so I think that you may have a merry holiday, and you might have something to celebrate. It doesn't mean the sober judgment is coming by Christmas, but it could come rather soon. I mean, Sagittarius is a fire sign. There is going to be a change, and we are entering a new era. But I think that there's going to be some sort of satisfactory judgment that you will be pleased with, Libra. I think you have that to look forward to. Okay, what does it mean to a Scorpio? Well, Scorpio, you certainly can benefit from the fact that Mars and Jupiter are in your sun sign, and they're being trined by Neptune in Pisces, and so that can mean that justice will certainly be done. If you've been doing anything wrong, that means that justice is going to be done to you, Scorpio. But on the other hand, if you wanted to make sure that justice was done, you could do that right now. And it might be in order to help an old wound heal, either your own or someone else's. That would be good. And it also could be that you may feel as if you want to give some sort of financial assistance to somebody who really deserves it. And this is a good time to be doing that. So there's nothing really stopping you, Scorpio. There's nothing in the other fixed signs. So you can go ahead. But remember that new moon was right ahead of your sun sign, indicating that there will be a sober judgment made. And once it's done, everyone is going to understand that it's for the good of all, and we must all respect it, including you. And so this is a time when I think maybe, even though you have a lot of drive and energy right now, I think what you should really do is concentrate on trying to get something really right now. And if it's not affecting you, then maybe you can help somebody else with that. And you do have the money to give financial assistance to somebody if you want to, Scorpio. So maybe it's just up to you to decide if that's what you want to do, because you could afford it. Okay, what does it mean to a Sagittarius? Well, Sagittarius, the new moon was in your sun sign on Monday, and there were 5 planets there. And so, yes, you'll be involved in some sort of sober judgment because Saturn was at the 29th degree and the sun and new moon were at the 27th degree. They were conjuncting that sober planet Saturn. And there was Venus and Mercury in the sign as well, and they were all being trined by Uranus in Aries. So since Mercury was retrograde and Uranus is retrograde, it simply means that I think that you're going to have to make a very sober decision that is for the good of everyone regarding some sort of new start. And it may be that you'll have to go back to the basics and try something again. And that is because that is an easier way, an easier path to success right now. In other words, zooming forward might be what you think you want to do because there's 6 planets in fire signs. But that only gets you off the ground. It doesn't get you securely landed. And that is what you maybe want to do in the long run. So you need to take the moral high ground. You need to do your best. And if it means returning to where you came from or returning to the basics and giving something another try, then that is probably what you need to do. And that is because we're entering a new era, and if you sort of take your time, maybe you'll really get something right. And that's entirely possible. But it's also possible that you need to finish something now, Sagittarius, and maybe that's what you need to do first. Okay, what does it mean to a Capricorn? Well, Capricorn, that new moon in Sagittarius on Monday was right behind your sun sign. 5 planets in your sun were right behind your sun sign, Capricorn, including the lights, the sun and the new moon. And that means there was a lot of light in the background of your life, Capricorn. And that means that there's an awful lot of people that are looking pretty closely at how you operate. Remember, it was Saturn, your own sun sign ruler, that was conjunct the sun and new moon, and it's at the 29th degree. It is actually, today, it's in your sun sign, but during the time of the new moon, it wasn't. And so there are a lot of people that are looking at how you operate, or they're examining your records, or they are looking at the experience that you have. And so all of that is being reviewed, and there will be some sort of sober judgment made. And I think that it will tend to eventually empower you, Capricorn. And that's because so many of those planets in Sagittarius are moving into your sun sign. And so we are entering a new era, and it is your sign that will be terribly strong since Saturn is your ruler, and it will be in Capricorn until 2020. So this is a time when a sober judgment probably is not going to hurt you at all, Capricorn. It may even enhance your reputation as long as you've been doing everything on the up and up, which I hope you have. Okay, what does it mean to an Aquarian? Well, Aquarius, There are no planets in any of the air signs. Okay, so this is not the time for talk, and this isn't the time for spin, and it isn't even the time to negotiate. This is simply the time when a sober judgment will be made. But it will be made by well-qualified people or a charismatic leader who can make a wise decision based on a high moral and a high moral ground, and it will be made for the good of all of us. And the new moon with the 5 planets in Sagittarius, all of them sextiled your sun, Aquarius. And so that means that if there is a sober judgment made now, there's nothing you can do about it, but it could tend to open a door for you sooner or later. It can tend to present opportunities for you. A sextile represents opportunities. And that's good, because even your own ruler, Uranus, was trining this new moon. So there is the possibility of some rather good change coming your way, Aquarius. It isn't anything that you can initiate. It's something that is going to be the result of a sound judgment or a decision made by well-qualified people, and that's why we should respect it. So you can look for better opportunities. They certainly will be there in the new year. Okay, what does it mean to a Pisces? Well, Pisces, this is a time when you were going to, even though justice can be done right now, and that can benefit you, particularly if you are enduring some sort of old wound that needs to heal. There may be some financial assistance coming your way to help you with that. But the new moon on Monday, with all 5 planets in Sagittarius, very harshly squared your sun where you have Neptune. And that simply means that there is the possibility that you are going to have to give up an illusion or give up some sort of dream that is now fading, like a little star that has lost its way. And believe me, Pisces, if you're the little star that has lost its way, then you will benefit from a sober judgment that can be made soon. It might be a little hard to benefit from that because you're going to have to change something in your life, but in the end, it will help an old wound heal. And I think what this all it boils down to is that we either have to go back to where we came from and start over, or we really all have to go back to the basics and give them another try. And I hope you do that, Pisces. All right, thanks so much for tuning in. Remember, you can see the show and hear the podcast anytime you want by subscribing to it on our website, starborninstitute.org. And I want to wish you a very happy holiday. Bye.